Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome to the Midlife Revolution. I'm your host, Megan Connor. And today we have the full recap of day 3 of the Donna Adelson trial. Now, wait, are we on day 4? I'm just about to make a fool out of myself here. Yeah, we're on day 4. Today's Wednesday. You guys, the days are running together because we have heard so much testimony, so much information in this trial. It is hard to keep track of it all, but tonight I'm going to distill it all down for you so that you don't have to watch 8 hours of trial every single day like I've been doing here on the stream. Now, if you want to watch 8 hours of trial a day, definitely come and join us. Our live stream is full of the funniest, snarkiest, and most beautiful human beings ever. So please join us. I have to say, I was a little bit later than I wanted to be. I had it scheduled for earlier, and then I had some mom things I had to do. And so here I am later than I wanted to be, but we're going to dig into all of the details and the specifics of everything that came out today. Now, I have to say, up until this point, there's been a lot of evidence that's come forward implicating Wendy. There's been a lot of evidence that's come forward that was in the previous trials that we knew already. So what you want to know today is, what did we find out that was brand new information that we didn't know before? Well, we have the complete timeline on 2 separate occasions when the hitmen followed Dan Markel, came up to Tallahassee from Miami and followed Dan Markel. One day in June, and then the day in question, the day that Dan was shot and killed. And so we have a complete comprehensive timeline of all the text messages and all the phone calls that were exchanged on those 2 days. Not only that, but we heard from the detective that actually performed the bump. Now, we talked about the bump in my last recap. We played the video from that. That video was played in court today. And the detective who did that was there in court today. And then we got to hear exactly what happened right after the bump. All of those recorded phone calls. Now, I have to admit to you, I've heard little snippets of those phone calls before, so that wasn't new. But this was the first time that I heard them in sequence and got to know the timing of how those phone calls happened. And I have to say, that was one of the most stunning things for me, was realizing how successful this bump was, because if all they wanted to do was stir up the hornet's nest and get these guys talking again, that's exactly what they did. In fact, they couldn't stop talking. And I was stunned about how much they revealed in those few phone calls right after the bump happened. Not only that, but we're also going to talk a little bit about the map of Wendy's route, which we've talked about that before, but we're going to see it very concisely on this map today. We got to hear from Special Agent Louis Braunstein from the FBI. We also got to hear from one of the people who worked on the forensics, on the audio forensics. We got to hear from Special Agent Brian Kendall, who did some of the covert surveillance. And then finally, we heard from Patrick Sanford, who is an FBI special agent, and he was the one that brought in these phone calls. Now we're going to listen to just a little bit of these phone calls. Now, there's so much damning information, I think, that has come forward. But here's the thing. The opinion that I have formed at this point is that Donna's cooked. I think that she's cooked up to this point. I think we've heard enough that she has been involved in all of this. She signed every single one of those checks to Catherine Magbanua, 44 checks. She had to have known that Catherine was not performing any kind of business service for the Adelson Institute. Yet she was on the payroll. Donna knew all about the payroll. Now we're hearing how not only controlling Donna was about her children's life, but how much she was relying on Charlie to get things done, to take care of problems. This is damning for Donna. But here's the other opinion that I'm forming. Wendy as the mastermind. Allegedly, in my opinion, I just think that we've gotten some information. Jeff Lacasse yesterday spelling it out for us that the only 2 times that he went out of town were on the 2 days that the killers visited Tallahassee. And the first time they came up, they rented a Nissan Sentra. What did Jeff Lacasse drive? A Nissan Altima. You can't get closer than that to the vehicle that he drives. And then the next time that the killers came up, Wendy had already broken up with Jeff Lacasse, but she checked back in with him to make sure he was going to be in town that day, to find out what route he was taking and when he was leaving. Coincidentally, the same time that the killers would be leaving and going back to Miami. I don't think it's a coincidence, me personally, but it shows just how manipulative Wendy was. And then today, we heard about these text messages that were exchanged between Wendy and Dan Markel, where she's reconfirming custody exchanges that had been already set in stone for months, but she's reconfirming while she's at Donna's house, just to make sure that Dan is going to be in town on the day that the killers are coming up from Miami the second time. Then we also have a moment where Donna texts Dan, "I'm outside your house." We're going to put all this together for you guys. It's a lot to go through, but we're going to do it. And I'm going to try to do it as concise as I possibly can, as I usually try to. Now, the very first thing I want to talk about is the text messages that came in, all of the communications that were exchanged during that first trip that the killers made up to Tallahassee. Let me share my screen. Here we go. So this is the communication timeline on June 2nd of 2014. Now, the actual shooting didn't happen until the month later on July 17th, but we'll get to that as well. We'll skip over a little bit of it. So at 8:25 p.m., Catherine Magbanua calls Geico, which is a car insurance company. From 8:25 p.m. until 8:53 p.m., Magbanua was traveling to Comfort Rental. Then she was at Comfort Rental from 8:53 p.m. to 9:17 p.m. And then at 8:57 p.m., I know it's hard to see because of the closed captioning and everything, but Charlie attempts to call Catherine at this point. Okay, hold on. You guys can't hear. Can you not hear the video? Is that what's happening? Okay, let me take it out and bring it back in. Okay, so you didn't really need to hear because they were just recapping the same thing that I said about that timeline, okay? So they established that Catherine Magbanua was giving Sigfredo Garcia a ride to Comfort Rental, that she arrived there about 9 p.m. Charlie tried to call her, Catherine, at just before 9 p.m. Then at 9:17, she calls Charlie, ostensibly to return that call, and they're on the phone for 25 minutes. At the same time, she's traveling home. Then Charlie, when he gets off the phone with Catherine at 9:43, he calls the Adelson residence at 9:44 and is on the phone for 25 minutes. Now he's calling the landline at the Adelson residence, and they're establishing that Donna had to be the one who answered the phone call because just a minute after this phone call ends at 9:32, Harvey calls the Adelson residence landline. And so they established that it had to have been Donna was the one answering the phone when Charlie called. So they called and talked for 25 minutes.
Adelson residence. What do you mean by that?
The home phone or landline phone for Donna and Harvey Adelson.
Okay, so this is a landline that presumably they would both use that's located in their house.
Correct.
Okay, and how long does that conversation between Charlie and the Adelson residence last?
Also just over 25 minutes.
Who does Catherine Ragbanoa call once she is back in the area?
And there's Harvey right there.
What we see in just after 10, she calls, text. There's a few communications back and forth here with
Residents last.
Oops.
So again,
Residents last.
No.
Adelson call or receive calls or messages from Donna Adelson's cell phone that night.
not that night.
Are you familiar with statements by
What did or did not occur, what might have been.
to their land? And Charlie
Okay.
Adelson.
Sorry, I was trying to get to this place where we can see the graphic. So again, Charlie calls the Adelson residence. They're on the phone for 25 minutes. Then after this, Catherine receives a call from Sigfredo, texts and calls at 10:01, 10:04, and 10:07 p.m.
Then talk on their cell phones that night.
Yes, there are 2 calls.
Are you familiar with statements by Charlie Adelson from the 2016 wiretap in this case that we'll hear beginning later today, where Charlie Adelson tells people on his cell phone that he'll call them back on a landline?
Yes.
As someone who
And
Okay,
1,378.
skipping forward, he cataloged all of the phone calls that they had over a 3-year period. So it was a super long time. And he cataloged the exact number of calls that they had, and he was trying to specify all of that. So that was important to know, but again, not something that I think we need to go over a second time. And then he showed the map of the rental car location and the cell site activity where these cell phones were found. Now, this I found to be a really interesting graphic as to the communication that went back and forth between Charlie and Donna 7 times, between Charlie and Catherine 17 times, and between Catherine and Sigfredo 15 times on that same evening. So this was the first attempt. Now, if we fast forward just a tiny bit, it shows phone calls between.
And then as that continues. So for the total number of communications, we can see those between each of the subjects.
So this is, you can't see because my dumb picture is in the way, but this is Wendy. She contacts Harvey 1 time. She contacts the residents 1 time. She contacts Donna twice, and she contacts Charlie once. Charlie contacts Harvey once, and Donna contacts Harvey once. So this is all of the communication that was going back and forth just in that small amount of time. Crazy, very crazy. And this comment about Skype is a dig towards Jackie because she doesn't know how to Skype, apparently. Now, the next thing that I wanted to show you guys was this really interesting invitation that we saw that was sent from the Donna Harvey shared email account. And this is Donna inviting Wendy and the kids to Harvey's big birthday. And you'll notice what is blurred out here. These are the kids' names that are blurred out. But Donna uses the Adelson last name. This is Saturday, July 5th. This was prior to the shooting of Dan Markel, that Donna was already using the Adelson last name for Wendy's 2 children. Their legal last name was still Markel at this point. I thought that was interesting. Wanted to share that with you. Then we have Wendy on July 6th. This is the day after Harvey's big birthday party, confirming with Dan. Again, this custody arrangement, this exchange had been confirmed for months and months and months. And yet Wendy feels the need to reconfirm. Are you in Tallahassee July 14th through 18th? I just want to know if I can have the kids on the 16th. Thanks. And he says, yes, you can. Probably somewhat confused because, again, they've already had this plan in place. She felt the need to reiterate it. The next thing that I wanted to share with you was this map that was shown at the 1 hour mark. Right around this time anyway. Let's see.
hybrid rental. And what we see is at 6:15 p.m. is the timeout for this vehicle. We see that they rented the Toyota Prius.
Okay, and who rented?
So this is during the second visit to Tallahassee on the 17th of July. Sorry. Yeah, the 17th of July is when they picked up the rental vehicle and they rented a Toyota Prius. The day before the shooting, which was the 16th, they accidentally shot through the fuel line. And we already heard Luis Rivera testify to this, that this happened. They shot out the fuel line. They had to take it to a friend to get it repaired. And so then they could follow Dan Markel the next day.
The Prius.
It's in the name of Luis Rivera.
And whose number is listed at the top under the name brother?
Mr. Garcia's.
Okay. And were their locations also consistent with Save Gas?
Yes, if we look at both Mr. Garcia and Mr. Rivera's cell site locations, they are consistent with the area of the Save Gas or hybrid rental.
All right, right after this car is rented around 6:15, this car that is the car that's going to make this final trip to Tallahassee to kill Dan Markel, are Magbanua and Charlie Adelson playing phone tag around that time?
Yes.
And did they finally talk on the phone about 15 minutes later at around 6:30?
Yes. So again, we're now looking at a call detail summary. This is slide 163 that shows the communication between them, our subjects, the evening of the 15th. We saw the communication between Mr. Garcia and Mr. Rivera just prior to the rental car pickup.
And I'm going to skip just a little bit.
Garcia and Rivera.
This is Catherine Magbanua's house. This is the car rental place. And then this is where Sigfredo and Luis were. Then this is 10 p.m., 10:18 p.m. Charlie calls Donna for 4 minutes and 32 seconds. And then at 10:29 p.m., they talk again for 4 minutes and 14 seconds. Then at 11:41 p.m., Catherine calls Sigfredo, but it's Luis's old number, and they talk for 10 minutes. And there's quite a lot of foundation that gets laid in between these slides. And then we're going to go to the morning
Donna,
of.
yes, back up. So yes, Wendy actually calls Donna at 8:09.
Okay. And what's next?
Donna attempts back at about the same time frame. Little phone tag maybe. And then we see a text message from Donna to Wendy again about the Best Buy service.
And she says, they're on their way over now to help with the TV sets in your living room.
Correct.
All right, what's next?
Wendy has a text to Charlie stating this is so sweet.
And that was deleted?
Correct.
And would that have had to have been deleted then before the Celebrate that afternoon, sometime between when it was received at 8:20 and the Celebrate that afternoon?
Correct.
All right, what's next?
Wendy receives a voicemail from Dan Markel.
Okay, and do you have that voicemail where you could play it for us?
I believe so.
Hey guys, I just want to give you a heads up. This is the first time that I personally had heard Dan Markel's voice. It was very sad for me. So if you need to step away or fast forward through this part or whatever, just please take care of your own piece. But this is actually going to be Dan Markel's voice. He leaves a voicemail for Wendy at 9:04 on the morning of the shooting.
Hey Wendy, good morning, 9 o'clock on Friday. Just wanted to say I'm hoping to pick the boys up early this afternoon and get in shape. That have a day for you around 4:30 or 5. So either at the or at the house. So let me know if that's okay with you.
time was that voicemail left for Wendy Adelson?
Sorry, you guys. I wanted to go back because I don't think the audio was real clear for you guys to hear. So I wanted to go back and tell you and just read this because I'm thinking about my divorce. I'm thinking about the divorce that my partner went through and other divorces that I've witnessed. And I can't imagine my former spouse being this kind in a voicemail. So I just want to say, it says, "Hey, Wendy, it's Danny. Good morning. It's 9 o'clock on Friday. I just wanted to let you know I was hoping to pick the boys up early this afternoon and take them swimming and then have them ready for you around 4:30 or 5. If you can pick them up from me, either at Truesdale or at the house. So let me know if that's okay with you. And also, I'd love to chat with you about the son's situation for school and birthday stuff and all that. I'm going to be at the gym probably between 10:15 and 10:30, but happy to chat or meet with you. Maybe we can go for a walk or something like that. Let me know. Okay, bye." I mean, just very kind, very accommodating, greets her with a good morning. Says, "I'd love to chat with you. Maybe we can go for a walk." I just can't imagine a better co-parent to go through life with than somebody like this who's so kind and accommodating, and it's really heartbreaking to me. Above everything else, I want to humanize Dan Markel, and I want for us to think of his kids, his 2 boys, and his family, you know, his parents and his sister who have been there in court. He just really seems like a decent and kind person. And this was the last communication that he left for his co-parent, Wendy, who was treating him awfully. So this was really sad for me today to hear this, but also I was glad to know, you know, what kind of a man he is. So we have this voicemail that comes up at 9:04 a.m. from Dan to Wendy. And then I think I missed one thing here. Wendy texts Dan, "The repairman's at my house right now. I'm picking up the boys at 3 p.m. So your swim idea is a no-go today." It's not cruel, but it's also not very kind. Then Dan texts Wendy, "Under our schedule, you weren't making them available until 5.
This is per surveillance footage from Premiere.
Correct.
At this
So he's at the gym when he's sending these texts.
point, Wendy and Charlie had an 18 and 17 second phone conversation.
An 18-minute and 17-second, yes.
Okay. What happens next after this phone conversation?
So after the phone call started, Wendy would have received the incoming text because I was being nice. And then about the time that phone call would have ended, Wendy texts Dan back.
And does she say, "Nice was fun while it lasted. See you at 4:30 today at my house then"?
Correct.
Just mind-blowing to me, you guys. So mind-blowing to me. I'm with you on this one, Brian Wade. I'm in the camp that I believe that Wendy was the one who orchestrated the whole thing and pulled all the strings. Allegedly, in my opinion, it's just more and more evidence is coming forward that she was actually the mastermind behind all of this.
So after this 18-minute phone call with Charlie Adelson, does she seemingly change her stance in the argument she kind of concedes the argument and agrees with what Dan Markel is asking. He can keep the boys until 4:30.
Correct.
And then within about an hour of this message was Dan Markel killed.
He was shot, yes.
Shot, thank you. Walk us through what happens next.
So there are additional communications.
Okay, so we're going to fast forward a little bit through this because obviously you're here for the short recap, not for the whole long thing. But this map I wanted to show you. Again, this is what I was trying to illustrate to you guys the other day when we were talking about, this is Wendy's house up here on Aqua Ridge Way. This is the Trescott Drive house where Dan Markel was living. And this is the ABC Liquors down here. Now, I've said this before, reiterated, that if she would have just taken this route across, the restaurant she was going to meet her friends at was right here. So she took a 9-minute detour to turn down Trescott. Now, I went through this the other night. When she turned down Trescott right here, she rounded this corner. And it wasn't until she rounded this corner that she saw the police tape. She had to come all the way down to here to see the police tape and then turn around and go back this way in order to go back out to the main road and go down to ABC Liquors. Now, she could not have seen the police tape from here. She could only have seen it once she got to this point right here, right before this curve, and the house was just there. And the police officer testified yesterday that he saw a vehicle matching her description come down the road, stop in front of the police tape, and turn around. He did not see her face, but he knew it was her vehicle because they had told them to be on the lookout for it. And it was the same vehicle that he drove with his family. So it was very easy for him to recognize. So I just wanted to reiterate that to you. And then if we skip just a little bit farther, we can see where Mosaic actually is, the restaurant that Wendy was going to. Again, from here to right here, just right across the way. And there's a Publix liquor in here. And then I pointed out on my live the other night that there's a liquor store actually in the same strip center as Mosaic that had been there for 35 years. So she went a full 9 minutes out of her way. Then there's this little spot that I have to go back over again because I was so shocked, and I may have gotten it wrong, but I just want to make sure that I get this correct.
Yes. And again, that was slide 257 we just spoke of. This is communication from Mr. Adelson's iCloud and the afternoon and evening of July 18th, where.
So this was after the shooting happened. Dan Markel has not passed away yet. He survived for 11 hours afterwards.
She asked, how's work been, hon? He says, been busy. And then later about to start a big case, which she acknowledges.
Okay,
That's
and
at
did they
6
discuss
p.m.
their plans for that night?
They did 8:22 p.m. She texted. We see that they are consistent with leaving the South Beach area around or a little before 8 p.m. and beginning to.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so she receives.
What I was trying to get was this. Okay, so on July 18th at 8:59 p.m., Donna texts Charlie to say, outside your house.
Jack calls for speculation. Overruled, he may answer based on his analysis of the records. No, Sergeant, you are not to speculate or offer any opinions beyond anything that you have not directly researched for these matters. You may answer the question.
Yes, sir. So the question asked of me is, it possible for, given the cell site locations and times, is it possible there was a period of time where Donna and Harvey could have stopped at Charlie Adelson's residence? So to do this analysis, I looked at the events that we had with usable locations, and we see that there is this 6-minute phone call And this is the 835 location we saw in the previous slide. But we see this phone call actually begins on the cell site in the bottom of this slide, which should be 263. And it ends on the cell site at the top. So to conduct an analysis of potential time between points, we need to establish a point to start measuring from.
Okay, so this was super interesting to me, but it's probably super boring to you guys. But they're basically trying to establish the amount of time that the call took place while Donna was traveling, and then that she was there in front of Charlie's house there later in the evening. So they met together that night. Now, Sergeant Corbett, this was his, he was on the stand for part of the end of the day yesterday, and then this morning. After him was the undercover agent who did the actual bump. They did not show his face on the screen because he is still undercover. And he just basically talked about the fact that he did the bump and that it was Donna that he ran into, and talked about how that was conducted. Then there was Special Agent Louis Bronstein from the FBI. He talked a little bit about how they carried out some of these undercover operations and how they were surveilling the different subjects in this, how they obtained the warrants for that surveillance, and how they got the phone taps. Then was James Keith McKelveen, and he was the audio engineer, and he essentially just testified that when they are trying to enhance an audio, they're not changing the sound of the individual who's making the speech or talking. They're basically trying to remove all of the ambient noise and all of the other noises that are going on. So they don't alter the speech of the person who's being recorded. Then Brian Kendall got up. He's a special agent that does covert audio and visual surveillance. And he basically talked about a failed attempt to get a recorded conversation between Harvey and Charlie Adelson when they were in a restaurant. He said there was no place else to sit down, so he had to sit right next to them. He had a little man bag that he was carrying, which had his camera and recording equipment in it, so it was a little bit obvious. Somebody in the chat mentioned it might have been the manager at the restaurant that made him and said, he's definitely some kind of a Fed. I don't know if they alerted the Adelsons at that point or if they just were aware they were being followed and listened to, so they were careful about their conversation. Then Special Agent Patrick Sanford got up to testify, and he testified for the rest of the day, and he's going to be on, as we've been told by Georgia Kappelman, that he's going to be on for most of the day tomorrow. And he had some very, very important and interesting things to talk about. He talked about the fact that Luis Rivera, when he decided that he wanted to testify and give evidence, he had to verify that Luis was, had something material to say. And that was when Luis told him for the first time that Sigfredo had accidentally shot out the fuel line in the Prius. And so the Prius at that point had been sold by the rental car company to AAA. And so they had to go and seize the Prius and go investigate it. And the bullet hole was still in the carpet. And they had repaired the fuel line, but they hadn't repaired the hole. So it was still there. So they were able to verify that Luis Rivera was telling the truth about that. And then they realized that he probably did have material information to give. Then we talked about the recorded phone calls. Now, I know that a lot of people have already heard these calls, but for me, it was just stunning to hear them in this order with the time frame. They did have to take a recess because they lost power there for a second. They've had all kinds of problems with that kind of stuff. But basically, the first call that we heard, and I'm not going to play this one, but it was between Donna Adelson and Charlie Adelson. And they were talking about Wendy's boyfriend, Dave. Now, this is 2 years after the shooting is over. They want Wendy apparently to date this guy named Dave Attell. He's a businessman. He's got 3 boys. But Wendy just sees their relationship as just friends. And so Donna is trying to talk to Charlie, and Charlie's trying to tell Donna, look, I can talk to her in a way that you can't, but we need to convince her. And it was really actually disgusting, this recorded audio to listen to, because Charlie was saying things like, she's 37 years old basically saying she's too old. Nobody's going to want her. He said, even if you brought me a 37-year-old who was a Victoria's Secret model, I wouldn't date her because, I could date a 25-year-old. So why would I date this one? It was really disgusting the way that he was talking about this. Not only that, but he was talking about how awful it would be to date somebody with children because, you're trying to have a romantic evening. And he literally said, I don't want some 10-year-old farting in my face. That's literally what he said. He's like, they're my nephews. I love them. But, I'm never going to date a woman with children is basically what he's saying. Well, now he does actually have a child of his own. So it's just really interesting and gross to listen to him talk about this way. Oh, well, my desk just decided to go down. Okay. Then the calls that I do want to play just a little bit of were post bump, because the bump happened. I get my dates right here, on April 19th of 2016. And again, they had some leads. The FBI had some leads. They had some ideas. They had some evidence, but the lines of communication had gone quiet between these co-conspirators, and they wanted to kind of stir things up again. So what they did is they had a special agent take a newspaper article with Dan Markel's picture on it, a newspaper article about the shooting, and write the number $5,000 on it and write a phone number on it. And they approached Donna in person, in public, and was very cordial to her, polite to her, and just said, hey, look, I understand that Katie took care of your problem up north. Well, my cousin's in jail now, and he helped take care of this problem that you had up north. And we know you've been taking care of Katie, paying her basically. And so we're asking you to take care of my cousin who's in jail too. And just handed her the piece of paper and said, this will explain everything, and then walked away. Well, sure enough, literally 20 minutes after the bump happened, Donna calls Charlie. And what's stunning to me about these phone calls is that, Donna says basically, we shouldn't really talk about it over the phone, but let's meet and see if we can figure this out. So let me find the exact timestamp here. That cannot be the correct timestamp because that's the wrong person on the stand. Oh, I see. Okay, so I'll just show you again, just in case you want to see, or you didn't see yesterday. Here's the bump. There's Donna walking across the street.
Excuse me,
And
Mrs. Adelson? How you doing? Just want to give you this. Listen. Don't be scared. Listen, just want to let you know that that your family has been taking care of Katie and Brandon for quite some time after your problem up north has been resolved. And I want to let you know that my brother, he's incarcerated. He helped your family with this problem you guys had up north. And we want to make sure that he's going through some rough times. We want to make sure that you take care of what he's going through, the way you're taking care of Katie and Susan. Well, this will explain it. Thank you.
it's interesting to see Donna's face while that's going on. She probably feels pretty foolish now that she fell for that. Okay, so now this is the phone call where Donna calls Charlie. This is 20 minutes after the bump happened. And they'll put the transcript up there so that you can see it in just a second. Oh, and I did want to answer this question. I saw somebody in chat asked, C. Cheadle asked, did Donna or anyone call the bump number? And yes, they did. Charlie called and had a conversation with them. I think Catherine McBanawa called at some point. Donna also called. They eventually figured out what was going on and made arrangements to meet and to pay this person and take care of it. But we'll see. That's probably what we're going to hear more of tomorrow.
Your future and need to keep it. Okay. Did someone write a letter to you or something? I got some paperwork. Hand delivered to me. You're being sued? No, that's what I thought it was, but I'm going to talk to you. Okay.
Now, just keep in mind that right now, Donna has Wendy's boys with her. When she was walking just after the bump happened, she was walking on her way to go pick up the boys from school. And so after the bump happened, she picked up the boys from school, walked back to her place, and immediately called Charlie. And the boys are around. They're not in the exact same room, but I think she's trying to be a little bit cagey here because she doesn't want the boys to hear what she's talking about.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to figure out something. You can tell me.
Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and put this on fast forward and read the transcript for you because I'm impatient. So basically, to just go back a little bit, Donna says that there we go. She says, I got some paperwork hand delivered to me. Charlie says, are you being sued? And she said, no, that's what I thought it was, but I'm going to need to talk to you. Charlie says, okay. Donna says, okay, so I'm not going to be, I'll figure out something. And he says, well, I'm in Mitch Klein's office. Basically, I'm not available right now. He says that he's at this restaurant, Skyline Chili, and then I'll be at his office. She says, okay, so the boys will finish their piano lesson around 4-ish. I don't know what the traffic will be like. I may ride up with them there. Charlie says, did Dad know about this? And Donna says, no, Dad is at work today, fortunately. Charlie says, what's like the IRS? And Donna says, those IRS people, they kind of bother you sometimes, but fortunately not now. Charlie says, I got you. Donna says, so I'll talk to you. I'll give you a heads up if I'm going to drive up that way. Charlie says, all right. Donna says, okay. And does Wendy know that? Does it involve Wendy or anything? Donna says, no. So let me just talk to you later. And he says, well, what is it? And he says, all right, does it involve me or other people? Donna says, well, probably both of us. There it is right there. Ding, ding, ding. Charlie says, what's that? Donna says, probably the two of us. So you probably have a general idea what I'm talking about. Charlie says, all right. So she says, let's just find some time to talk to each other and take the boys for a ride. And then Charlie keeps pushing and he can't let this go. He wants to know what's going on. Urgent for you to talk to me today. She says, today or tomorrow, it's important. Charlie says, all right. Donna says, I don't know what to do. Charlie says, do you want me to come up? And she says, you'll be there when, till late? And he says, yeah, till really late. She says, I'm just concerned that I would have to get up there and get back in time for Wendy to get the boys. Sometimes she gets out a little bit early, and I wouldn't want her to come and them not be here. So I'm a little ahead of this. Can I ask you a question? Who was the paperwork sent from? And Donna says, it was something that came hand to hand to me as I exited the building today. Charlie says, was it anonymous? And she says, oh no, it's not anonymous. It's not anonymous. I just don't want to discuss it over the phone. And then Charlie can't let it go. All right, whatever it is, it is. He says, all right, it's silly, but Donna says, I wouldn't bother you. Trust me. As in, like, if it wasn't important. Charlie says, yeah, I know. Do you want me to come down to see you tomorrow? I actually have the day off. Donna says, yes, that would be wonderful. Charlie, okay. Donna, Dad actually works later tomorrow. He goes in at 1. We both work out at the gym from 9:30 to 10:30. Then Charlie says, whatever it is, I'll take a look at the paperwork. He says, I hope it's not the IRS. Donna says, I would just like you to review it and give me some input as to what your thoughts are. He says, all right. Okay, so come down tomorrow. Dad leaves at 12, so anytime after 12 would be good. So they're deliberately trying to keep this from Harvey. Charlie says 12 tomorrow. He says, yeah, he leaves at 12. He starts at 1 there. So 12, 12:15. Charlie says, all right, I'll come down in the afternoon. That way I can hang out with you and see the boys too. Donna says, that would be great. He says, perfect. I'll talk to you later. Love you. Bye. Well, then what happens? Literally 20 minutes later, Charlie picks up the phone and calls Donna back because he can't stand to not know what is going on. I did star a couple of comments. If you have questions, just hang on to them for just a second. How did Harvey not know all this was going on? I think Wendy and Harvey did. I think they did, but I think that they stayed out of the main planning and execution of everything. I agree with you, Salt and Pepper. It'll never stop being hilarious to me that Donna got bumped on the street like that. It's just pure gold. I agree with you. Okay, so let's go on back to the next phone call. So the next phone call happens 20 minutes later. Charlie just can't help himself. He calls Donna back and wants to know what this whole situation was. So he calls originally to ask her for a favor, but then he can't help himself but get into it. So he says, hey, can you pay for my Brown & Brown insurance? Because he says he's just going to stick with the same company. She says, that's fine. They're supposed to shop it for you. I think he's talking about some kind of insurance related to his practice. She says, the thing of it is you stay with the same company for 3 years. They can try to bump you down onto a lower bracket. And she says, okay, so it's a good idea to do that. Charlie says, so I might as well stay with them and then hope that's actually true. They can get what they said about putting it in a lower bracket. She says, so you want me to call Pam Hall? He says, yeah, because I told her my mom would call her because she handles that stuff with the office. She says, okay. And then just write and send in a check because they have to have it before, I want to say the 29th or something. Donna says, okay, I'll do that now. And then he says, and then do that. And listen, whatever it is, whatever someone sent you, I wouldn't worry too much about anything. She says, okay. Charlie says, I mean, someone can write whatever they want to write. Someone can say whatever they want to say. And I'm not worried. Donna says, okay. Charlie says, so was it another bad review on Yelp? And I believe that this is code. Donna says, those reviews come in and sometimes they're bad reviews. This is a particularly bad one. So Charlie says, but I'm not being sued. Donna says, no. He says, okay, all right. Honestly, whatever it is. And I wouldn't just judging from what you're making it sound like, I wouldn't stress about it too much. She says, okay, honey, it's probably nothing. Probably. And he says, yeah, listen, people can always write. People can always say anything they want. It doesn't, if someone says you're a bad dentist, it doesn't mean you're a bad dentist. So, and she goes, of course not. He says, but anyway, I'll definitely come down. It actually works out perfectly because I have the day off. She says, okay. She says, I'll make you take me out to dinner. So make sure you bring cash with you. He says, all right. And he doesn't really catch on at first. She goes, okay. He says, oh, do I need to bring cash? She goes, yeah, if you take me out to dinner, I want to have, really, and I think she says like something really nice. That's probably a good idea, right? And he says, yeah. And then Charlie says, I should bring cash? I don't have much cash to bring. And she says, yeah, okay, I'll see if I have money for dinner. We'll see. We'll see what I have here, okay? And he says, can I ask you, is someone blackmailing you? And she goes, well, it's always a good possibility. He says, do you think someone's trying to blackmail you? She says, maybe. Could be. I don't know. He goes, no, that's crazy. She goes, yeah. He says, it is. It's there. I don't know what anyone would blackmail you for, but is there any way I could see you? You can't come up here at all. He's saying like tonight, I want to know what's going on. She says, it's going to be difficult because they don't finish their piano lessons, blah, blah, blah. Like these people repeat themselves like crazy. This would drive me nuts to have a conversation like this with somebody. He says, can I just ask you this? She says, He says, is this anything government related or is this like a whack job writing a letter to you? And when he said that, I was thinking, whack as in the mafia, that kind of a whack job. And she seems to catch on and say, like, who? He says, like, is it a whack job, like some crazy person writing a letter to you, or is this government related? She said, no, I don't know if it's government related. He says, so it's not government or military? And she says, no, anything like that. No. Who is the letter addressed to? She says, me. To you? Uh-huh. He goes, that's crazy. Uh-huh. Charlie says, do you know who sent it to you? She said, I have a pretty good idea, but we'll talk later. Either I'd like to just try to see you today. I just don't know if I'm going to get back in time for them to, and I don't want to have, you can see she's perseverating back and forth. Should I chance it? Should I go up there? And then, she gets to why she's upset about this in just a second. He said, whoever sent you the letter sent an anonymous letter. She said, no, it's not really anonymous. He says, did they sign it? She said, it was hand delivered, honey. Like, pick up, Charlie. Hello, are you there? He says, so someone showed up. Was it like by a process server? She said, that's what I thought when he was when it happened. It wasn't, says Charlie. She says, no. He said, where did they come to you at? She said, when I walked out of the building and I make a right and I go past both driveways of the Icon. And I'm on the sidewalk and I'm about 5 feet from pressing the button so that I could cross the street to pick up the boys this afternoon. And I just got on the sidewalk. And then, she's talking to people in the background. She says, so yeah, it was amazing. Somebody knew exactly who I was, called me by name. He says, and he came over and handed you, was it a young guy, old guy? She said, I'd say probably mid-30s. I wouldn't forget that face. He said, really? She says, yeah. So anyway, I can make the attempt to go up there. I'm just concerned about getting back here in time and having, Wendy say, where were you? And I don't think it's a good idea for the boys to say, we went up to see Uncle Charlie, And so finally he says, okay. And she says, at the end of the day, and unless I needed to come do some checks at the office or something. And he said, well, you have to get the stuff for the insurance. He said, that's crazy. Someone handed you a letter like that. She's like, uh-huh. He goes, I mean, I don't even know. And she goes, yeah, maybe we better just keep it at tomorrow at like 12:15, 12:20. Charlie says, is the person like threatening you or anything? She says, you never know how to interpret these things. So let's not worry and let's meet tomorrow. I think that's better. Let's meet tomorrow afternoon. He says, all right, let me ask you this. Do you want to take a picture of the letter and send me what someone sent you? Look, if you're trying to be casual and not get caught, the last thing you want to do is take a picture of it and send it in the cell phone that's probably being monitored. She says, no, I really don't want to do that. He says, so it wasn't a government or the military or somebody, it was just some random person. Like, Charlie will not let this go. She started this whole conversation a phone call ago saying, we shouldn't talk about this on the phone. Let's meet in person. He says, that's effing crazy. She says, uh-huh. He goes, how long was the letter? She said, well, it's just a copy of an article, but it's what's written on the letter, that it was written on the copy of the letter. He said, is this person threatening you? She said, I don't think we should talk. He says, all right. I mean, listen, it's the kind of thing, if there's a threat, you go to the police. She said, yeah. But anyway, and she goes, at this time, I don't think that's a good idea. And he says, well, I don't know. I mean, if people threaten you, you got to go to the police. She says, yeah. And he goes, yeah, but let me see what it is. Let me see what nonsense it is first. And she says, okay. He said, it won't be the first time I've been threatened. And then she says, yeah, I'd like you to just see it and see what you think. And then she's talking to the boys in the background. She says, when you come down, you'll play with the boys a little bit, okay? And he goes, all right. Yeah, no, I'll come down. I'll see you. I'll play with the boys. Okay, great. Charlie says, all right. If it's something serious, I'm going to recommend going to the police. And she says, oh, no, I know. That's just what I'm tempted to do. He said, all right, sounds good. And then we'll talk tomorrow. Now, that finishes that recording. I'm going to come back and check on chat because I've been away a long time. Thank you for this. I agree with you, Darlene. That is exactly what I would say. Yes, they really did think they were going to get away with it. Donna being smarter than Charlie here is mind-blowing. She pretty much told him everything on the phone. That's true. I just was dying. Yes, I was laughing nonstop. I was dying. I could not believe Charlie just could not help himself. It was crazy. They were so foolish, just ridiculous. Yes, Harvey definitely knew something, which does break my heart because I also, I don't know. I thought he was just an enabler, but I think he really knew. And thank you so much to No More BS and Everyone Loves Angel's Eyes and Rio for Life, Kim D. And I believe I saw Eliza around the other day. Thank you so much for modding whenever you can. I just really appreciate you guys being here. So then, get this, right? So the bump happens. 20 minutes later, Donna calls Charlie. 20 minutes after that, Charlie calls Donna back. 15 minutes later, Charlie calls Donna again because he just can't stop himself from finding out what is going on. So this is the last call here, you guys. Thanks for sticking with me. I thought it was important to like go over this because, you know, this is pretty damning for Donna. It's pretty damning for Charlie too, but he's already in jail, so you know we don't really care about him. So Charlie wants to know. I'm just going to go ahead and start playing it here. He wants to know a little bit more about this person, the description of them, and you know exactly what is going on here. So, hey, Eliza, good to see you. Yeah, Wendy is just involved, and I believe she was pulling the strings personally. Just that's my personal opinion. It is allegedly, cannot say for sure. Okay, so here we go. Charlie calls Donna again. Hey, Charlie. You know, he says, hey, sorry about that. Quick question for you. Oh, one thing I was going to tell you, obviously, don't talk about things in the apartment or any place. Charlie, where do you think she is right now? She's in the apartment. Somehow he thought calling the landline was safer. I don't know why. She goes, oh, obviously. I'm obviously not going to talk about it in the apartment, but here I am in the apartment talking about it. These people. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that they're stupid. He says, the other thing is, was the person black, white, Hispanic? She goes, white. He goes, and they just came up to you and they said your name and handed you a piece of paper? She said, no, didn't hand it right away. First spoke to me for a while and then handed it to me. Really? Uh-huh. And were they wearing a hat or sunglasses? And she goes, no, nothing. She was really freaked out by this. In fact, maybe we can hear her voice just a little bit. She was like, wasn't wearing any kind of a disguise, just walked right up to me. Let's see if we can hear what her tone of voice. Oh, sorry, I've got it on 2x.
No, didn't hand it right away. First spoke to me for a while and then handed it to me.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And they wearing hats, sunglasses, or?
No, nothing. Nothing. Describe them to you.
So I think that kind of freaks Donna out that, you know, this person wasn't wearing a disguise. They just walked right up to her. You know, she could describe him. She knows exactly what he looks like. And he says, was the person nervous or were they angry? She said, no, calm as could be, totally calm. He says, that's really crazy. Are they trying to ask for money or something? She says, yeah. He says, but if someone's trying to, I mean, listen, if it's something like that, it sounds probably like you go to the police. But then she says, I may have to, but you know, I'd rather talk to you first. And he says, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, you know, there are scumbags out there all the time that try to do stuff like that. She says, I know. Donna says, that's why, you know, I just want you to see, because I don't want your father upset. So, and then Charlie says, don't say anything to dad until I take a look at it because dad flies off the handle. Donna says, absolutely. He says, on everything. She says, that's why I suggested after he goes to work tomorrow. Charlie says, did the person give you any kind of like time frame or anything? She says, no, but it's clear. Donna says, it's clear what's wanted. Charlie says, can I just ask you, what did they ask for? And she said, you know, I don't know. The TV was probably about $5,000. Charlie says, they asked you for $5,000. She says, uh-huh. He says, that's effing crazy. Uh-huh. And I mentioned, and he mentioned, like an ex-girlfriend. And then Charlie says, that's crazy. Let me take a look at it. She says, uh-huh. He says, then I'll go from there. And she's talking to the boys in the background. And then she says, Charlie says, let me take a look and then I'll go from there. I'm glad you called. If you wanted to go to dinner, we'll see where we go. Charlie says, yeah, I'll go down in the afternoon and I'll take a look at whatever. She says, yeah, whatever. And then she says, maybe we'll go for a walk on the beach or something if it's going to be nice tomorrow. That way they're, not surrounded by bugs, like the recording kind, not the gnats. So then they turn off the phone, or they hang up the phone. Look at me turning off the phone. And then what's hilarious is just a few minutes later, like almost as soon as they hang up the phone, what do you think happens? See if you can guess. Who do you think Charlie calls next? Well, Donna mentioned an ex-girlfriend. And so Charlie calls Catherine Magbanoa. And what's funny is I'm not going to play this whole phone call because it's kind of gross to listen to, honestly. But what's hilarious to me is that even Catherine Magbanoa says, like, you have a million ex-girlfriends. It could be anybody. And so Charlie says, you're right. I could have just been bothering you for nothing. So if it's going to be nothing, I'm really sorry that I bothered you. And, don't worry about it. But I'm going to find out tomorrow what's going on. And when I find out, I will let you know. So he calls Catherine and Catherine is like, yeah, it could just be anybody. You just don't even know. And Charlie's kind of suss out, like, are you behind this? You trying to set me up? Or, do you know somebody? But yeah, I mean, it's great for the prosecution that they're that dumb. But yeah, I was really enjoying this afternoon because as horrible and difficult as this whole thing is, to realize how stupid the criminals are is a little bit satisfying. It's a little bit satisfying. So, yeah, the only ex-girlfriend that's tied up in crime, so he knows they're talking about her, which is why he called her first. I just really enjoyed that. Now, I want to show you one more thing that I think is hilarious. So this judge, I have really appreciated his dry sense of humor and his wit throughout this. And I just want to play this cute little moment. First of all, I was not the only person that noticed that this sidebar looked very much like a prayer circle. I mean, if you're Mormon, if you're not Mormon, doesn't it kind of look like a prayer circle? Doesn't it look like they're kind of having a prayer circle? Anyway, they have their little sidebar, and when they come back from the sidebar, there's this cute little moment that I just have to show you because I laughed really hard. The special agent is still testifying. They go through the Catherine Magbanoa phone call, which I'm not going to subject you to, but if you want to see it, it's right at minute 7 hours and 57 minutes into my live stream from today, if you want to go and see it. And then I just want to play you this little moment that's probably going to bring a smile to your face at the end of this epic recap. That was funny. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Here we go. This is the last little fun thing we're going to do tonight.
Did he speak to anyone else about this other than the family members that we're going to hear in Catherine Magbanoa?
No, he didn't.
Right. There was discussion of an in-person meeting between the defendant and her son, Charlie Adelson. Did that take place?
It did.
When did that take place?
The following day at about, I think it was around 1 o'clock.
Is this April 20th, 2016?
That's correct.
Where did the meeting take place?
Took place behind Mrs. Adelson's building. They actually met
Oh, did I
in the
miss it?
building, we believe. and
I
then
think I
came out-
missed it. Okay. So it happened right at the end of this phone. Okay, so this phone call is ending.
In this call, Charlie Adelson tells Catherine Magbanua that the man that approached his mother said, quote, something regarding her son and his ex-girlfriend. Did the undercover say anything about Charlie Adelson or Donna's son?
No.
Did the undercover reference Charlie Adelson at all?
No, he did not.
When Donna Adelson relayed to Charlie what the undercover did she say they mentioned you?
No.
But he deduces that he misremembers that it was just about him.
That's what it appears, correct.
Did he proceed after this call to call any of his other ex-girlfriends?
No, he did not.
Did he speak to anyone else about this other than the family members that we're going to hear in Catherine Magbanua?
No, he didn't.
Right. There was discussion of an in-person meeting between the defendant and her son, Charlie Adelson. Did that take place?
It did.
When did that take place?
The following day at about, I think it was around 1 o'clock.
Almost there,
This is
guys.
April 20th, 2016.
That's correct.
Where did the meeting take place?
It took place behind Mrs. Adelson's building. They actually met in the building, we believe, and then came out in the back of it and walked down. There's a sidewalk along the water behind their building. They walked along the sidewalk to a restaurant called Monty's. And there's a table out by the water, out by itself, just behind the restaurant. They went and sat at and met there and talked.
What, if any, efforts were?
Ms. Adelson, if you need your hearing assisting device, please wear it so you do not miss any of the evidence. Please ask your question.
Okay, I don't know if you caught that or not. But somebody did. Just Call Me Kim caught that Donna took her headphones off at the end of that, like too soon, and she did not put them back on. She's been wearing headphones the entire time so that she could hear all the court proceedings. And she took her headphones off at the end of the call and she didn't put her regular headphones back on. So the judge had to stop this man in the middle of his testimony to reprimand Donna and tell her to put her headphones back on. And we got to see the expression on the special agent's face. And I know he's probably kicking himself for doing this, but I wouldn't have been able to contain it. So I'm gonna back it up just a tiny bit, because now that I know exactly where it is.
Sidewalk.
There's the
along
subscribe
water
button.
Behind their building. They walked along the sidewalk to a restaurant called Monty's. And there's a table out by the water, out by itself, just behind the restaurant. They went and sat at and met there and talked.
What, if any, efforts were?
Ms. Adelson, if you need your hearing assisting device, please wear it so you do not miss any of the evidence. Please ask your question.
What, if any, efforts?
I'm sorry. I just love this guy. And I'm not mad about the fact that he's going to be on the stand for most of the day tomorrow. So Georgia Kappelman did say that she's got a couple more witnesses that she needs to get through tomorrow. But she did say that he's going to be on the stand most of the day. Now we're going to hear some more phone recordings. We're going to hear some more in-person recordings. And I personally cannot wait to hear more evidence that is going to tie Donna down to this crime. I think she's cooked already, but I think there's a lot more that's going to come in all of these recordings that we're going to hear tomorrow. So tomorrow is going to be the day, I think, that we're going to finally see some sizzle coming out of the testimony that's really going to pin Donna down. So I'm really looking forward to it. I am going to be live streaming all day tomorrow, as well as every day that court is in session for the entirety of this trial. You know why? Because there is something that infuriates me about these entitled, enmeshed family systems. And of course, it's close to me. It's, my family's drama played out for a long time on the main stage too. And it was hard to go through that. And one of the reasons why I keep talking about cases like this is because I want to point out the behaviors of these people so that when you see it next time, you'll recognize it for what it is and hopefully not be duped or, taken in by any of these people who do nothing but use and manipulate and twist to get what they want, which is control and power and money and probably, girlfriends and boyfriends and whatever else. Somebody asked if Charlie is going to still testify. Well, Charlie has left South Dakota. He is, in fact, in Florida awaiting testimony. Now, it's possible that he may not testify. The state might not need him to testify, but I think that they're keeping him there sort of as a, something in their hip pocket, because it's possible that Donna's defense team could go down some crazy rabbit hole and try some weird defense. So I think Charlie is there to testify just in case she tries to try something crazy, because we don't really know at this point what the defense is going to be. I mean, in Charlie's case, they tried to say that it was extortion. It was this double extortion plot. Well, that didn't work out so well for Charlie. So we don't really know yet what Donna's defense team is going to do, but I don't think they can avoid putting her on the stand. They're going to have to, pretty much, for any defense that they're going to try to prove. So I honestly don't know if he gets any kind of anything while he's waiting. Probably just the same treatment that anybody in jail gets at that time. But yeah, all this comes down to control of one kind or another. Financial control, mind control, religious control is in there on this one as well. So I'm really grateful to all of you who are hanging out with me in the live streams during the day. Invite your friends. It's a really fun place to be. Please come hang out with us. And if you can't, join us again for recaps. I'm going to have a recap, a full recap, condensed version of the trial every single day with the highlights and everything that you need to know so that you don't miss anything. Thank you for being beautiful human beings. Thank you for supporting the channel. And above all, thank you for being good to yourself, because I really believe that when we do the thing that is the most kind and loving thing for ourselves, then we are the best version of ourselves and we can help the people in our lives that we love. And that's what I care the most about. So thank you so much for being here. Please take a second to subscribe, like the video on your way out, and leave me a comment if you think I missed anything super important, and I'll talk about it in my pre-cap tomorrow morning before trial starts. Thanks and have a good night. Take care, everybody.